Hello, this is Jamie Hadfield with Legends Health, Wellness, and Performance podcast. Today we have a super special guest. His name is Jim Bills. He has been a family friend of mine, and he has been a business mentor of mine. He is a serial entrepreneur. He's been a CEO of several different companies. One of those companies was a software company called Novell, which was a multi-million-dollar software company. He then decided to leave corporate life, and he started a fishing company, a super successful one at that, because he loved the outdoors. And he has taught me that the number one thing in business and in healthcare is to truly care about the people you are serving, the people that you are in your organization, and also your customers. In this podcast, he shares with us $1 million lesson of the 4 types of people in business, how to recognize them in your business dealings and in your personal dealings, so you can make better informed decisions. I hope you enjoy the podcast with Jim Bills. Thanks for tuning in. Why were you traveling that much? I kind of want to give a little bit of background to the viewers in regards to your background, and because you spent a lot of your life on an airplane.
I did. Okay, so I'm going to give you an idea of experiences I've had. Is that okay?
Please do.
Okay, I have a very unique experience background. Why? Because I have actually lived a lot of different disciplines, and by that I mean I have earned my living many different ways. I earned my living when I was very young. I worked in a floral nursery and helped grow flowers. Then I started installing carpet for my father and cleaning houses. He had a carpet cleaning and a house cleaning business and a carpet installation business, and I made a living doing that into my early 20s. I then got an electrical engineering degree, and I went into the computer industry, and I worked first in factories. I've worked in factories building computer printers when that was a different business than it is now. Then I decided to go into field service, and I worked as a serviceman for computers when they filled rooms the size of football fields. And I would travel around and do that. Then I got into a startup company and built an international service organization for them using other companies like General Electric and ICOT and others. Then I moved into sales because there was an opportunity, and for some reason I'm a problem solver, and for some reason I get put where things need to be fixed, and so I got put into that. And then eventually I was an executive vice president, second in charge of a $1 billion company. And I was working all over the world. I was on the board of 9 different companies, including companies involving Fujitsu, Nokia, Canon, Toshiba, lots of them. So I met a lot of people. Okay, so, and at that point, I was running a very large company. I owned a division that had to produce $800 million a year. The other divisions produced $200 million a year. Then some things occurred that caused me to reevaluate that. First of all, my wife decided I wasn't the guy for her. And so, and my family's very important to me. I had 5 really good kids, and I thought I had a good marriage, and that went south. So, and my kids needed more attention from me, and the company wasn't that fun anymore. We had acquired some things, and we had gone public, and one of the requirements of going public, usually from the market makers, is to bring in something they call professional management, which is a code word for Harvard MBAs, because they can charge more for the stock. And the Harvard MBAs, I thought, didn't take care of the company, the customers. They took more care of themselves and their Harvard buddies. And so I was spending more time fighting them than the competition. So between those 2 things, I decided to leave that career. And I not only left the company, I left that whole career. And I happened to find that a girl that I had dated in high school was single, had 5 kids of our own. We married, we put 10 kids together, which is a big deal. And we moved out and we built a fishing and hunting lodge in the middle of freaking nowhere. And for 10 years, we ran a fishing and hunting lodge, and we had a video store and a toy store, and we raised our kids and had plenty of work for them. And I never made the kind of money I used to make, and I've never been happier in my life. And that experience taught me all kinds of things about adversity. And so that's part of my, and then we had one of our customers from the lodge approach us and ask us to invest in a construction company that he wanted to start, and we did, and we became 50% partners in a construction company.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I have a general contractor's license.
I didn't know that.
Okay, so my point is I have had to make a living in cleaning houses, cleaning sewer-filled basements, serving people, fixing computers that under huge stress when United Airlines can't make reservations because their computer's down, traveling around the world building organizations, dealing with international companies and governments to try to get things approved. I've been on government boards. I've been the chairman of a hospital. I've been a hunting and fishing guide. I've been a hotelier. We had a restaurant. I would say to my wife, "You want to go out for dinner tonight?" "Yes." "Good," because the chef called in. He's in jail because they caught him with drugs, and I'm going to be cooking and you're going to be serving, and that's our night out for dinner. So I've had a lot of experiences in business, a lot.
Yes, you certainly have. But why does that business, actually, I think that probably makes you a better business person, because I think from my perspective, in business, you have to become a jack of all trades. Mm-hmm. You have to step in where you need to step in and rise above. And in reality, in my opinion, progress is happiness, however you're progressing. And so I'm always in awe when I listen to your story, because you were able to get outside of yourself, Jim. Every time I talk to you, I'm like, here is a man that is always able to, say, I don't have that skill, and I am willing to dedicate my life and to learn that skill. And it always, from my perspective, is for a greater cause. It's not for you that you're doing it.
Well, that's true, and I think it has to do with our personalities, what we're drawn to. We each have different gifts. I happen to be, if you take the Briggs-Meyer test or whatever they call that, I'm an outgoing introvert, but I'm also I use a lot of intuition, and I'm just one of those weird guys. I'm a nerd, and so
But you own it. You own it. You own it. That's right.
And I love to help people succeed. I always have. It's one of the reasons I was in the service business. If you want to find a good team player, you look in the service department. That's where they are. Okay? Salesmen are very important. They're great, but a lot of those guys are very self-motivated. They're out for themselves, and they're valuable. They go get the deal for you. But if you want somebody who looks at the whole picture, that doesn't mean they're not in that department, but there's fewer there than in the service department. Just saying. When you're looking into your company, I'll give you an example. I needed somebody to run our Hong Kong office. We didn't have a Hong Kong office. There was a kid, he was about 30. He had a wife and kids. He was living in Utah, working for us. He was a technician working in engineering. He was just a technician, but he had this loud voice. I enjoyed talking to him. He happened to be from Hong Kong, and his parents were in Hong Kong. And I said, "Hey, you want to go run our Hong Kong office?" He says, "I can't do that." I said, "Yeah, you can. I can tell you can. Because you get done what you need to get done." And he went and opened our Hong Kong office, and he did a great job. And then he worked somewhere else, and then he teamed up with Masa Son, who I spoke about earlier. And now this technician has just moved back here, building a house. He's worth $300 million. He's a technician.
Because you believed in him, though.
But because he cares about other people.
Okay.
He cares about other people. He's a very caring man. And so, so if you don't care about people, find somebody who does and have them run your company for you. Because if you don't care about anything but yourself, fine. But nobody else will care about you. So find somebody who does care, and you just get out of their way.
And that's the best business decision you could actually make.
Yeah, yeah. Because if you don't care, I can't make you care. That's fine. I care enough about you to say, well, I can help you succeed. Find somebody who cares, let them run your business, and get out of their way. And have a good auditing track so they can't steal from you. Okay?
Yeah, no, it makes sense to me.
All right. So how do you find those people? They are people who are excited about learning, okay? For example, I think I mentioned this to you earlier. One of the coolest lessons you'll ever learn was on a Disney movie called Mary Poppins. And she told you how to take bad situations and turn them good. And it goes like this. For every job that must be done, there is an element of fun. You find the fun and snap the job's a game. And that is so true. So when I was working in a factory building printers, 2 of us were on the graveyard shift and 9 people were on the day shift building this particular printer. And there's just 2 of us on the graveyard shift, and it's just a factory job, and we're bored out of our gourds. And we decide, how do we make this a better job? And nobody gave us any ideas. We were just young guys, and we thought, you know what? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to outproduce the day shift. You ready, Larry? Yeah, let's do it. And so we just started working really hard, and we'd run tests, and I'd be running, you'd build them in one area, you'd have to run them down the end of the factory to put them in these, they called them ovens, but they were heat chambers to make sure they wouldn't fail if they got hot. Yeah. And so I'd be working in my area, he was down in his, and I'd run the machine down and he'd run it through the heat machines, and then he'd finish up. And after about 2 months of this, first of all, we noticed the shift went like that. I mean, we'd go to work and it was time to go home.
Because it was fun.
And we were having a blast. And about 2 months into it, we got called into the office and we got reprimanded for outproducing the day shift because the union was upset. Oh. And so that was okay. It was pretty funny. But what happened is we were both recognized and we got moved into better jobs. And it's not like we were smarter than anybody else, but we were enjoying our job and doing a great job of it. And I thought that's a great lesson. And from then on, I took every hard job there was and found a way to make it interesting and fun. And it required a lot of education, a lot of learning. I read a lot. When I was on these airplanes, I was reading. You look at successful executives, they are reading all the time. Or listening to podcasts like this. It's the same thing. But it got to where I could solve problems, and they knew it, and so they would move me to another one. And I ended up from a service guy in a startup to the executive vice president with the Harvard MBAs working for me. And, I really only had a technical degree. It was an engineering degree, but it was a 3-year degree. It wasn't a bachelor's. And I didn't get a bachelor's till I was 55 because I got tired of people telling me I didn't have a bachelor's. So I went back and earned a bachelor's, and it's been worthless. I haven't used it at all, but it's like,
I have the paper.
I got it. Okay, shut up. And so that makes life fun. And it makes hard things worthwhile, because you go through a hard time, you can say, oh, poor me, I've had a hard time, and you use it as a reason to become a victim. Or you say, wow, I had a hard time and I worked my way through that. I'm proud of myself, and it lifted me up, and I have more light in me, and I can give more to other people, and I become more than what I was because I went through the hard time. You will find that if you go through hard times and persevere and just look for the good and improve yourself, you will bless that hard time as one of the best things that ever happened to you. You will.
I do right
Okay.
now.
Okay, so there's...
But you said something interesting to me before we started this, because you had said by the time you're between age 35 and 45, there's some life event that you have in your life that has created some type of darkness.
Right. If you'll observe, and you can't do it until you're after 45, and it's easier in your 50s, but if you'll observe closely, you'll notice that every person in our society, now there are other societies where the times are different, but in our society, every person you know, and yourself included, between the ages of 35 and 45, you will have a great loss. It might be your family, it might be a child that dies, it might be a career you lose, but it will be something that you loved, and it will be big, and you will lose it. I promise you will. And then you have a decision to make. You will either turn to God for guidance, direction, and counsel, and you'll do that however you can. I don't tell you how to do it, but you'll do it. And you will work through the problem, and you will thank God for that problem when you're through it because of where it's brought you. Or you will become bitter and turn away from God. And you will blame that moment for everything bad that ever happens into your life. And you will focus on everything bad that happens in your life. And your life will become smaller and smaller and smaller until you're nothing but an angry person that nobody can stand to be around. That's what will happen. You'll do one or the other. Now, it doesn't mean you might not turn from him and then turn back or turn away. You know, life is back and forth. But your focus will be on moving ahead and you'll be happy. Or it'll be on blaming and you will be sad. And there will be no one who can help you but yourself.
For me, what I'm hearing you say is, I'm responsible. I'm responsible for where my thoughts go. I'm responsible for the meaning that I give to those thoughts. I'm in charge of what I'm focusing on. And if I'm focused and I find and I rely on a higher energy, a higher source, a God, that the way my life turns out is based upon my choices I make.
Completely, 100%. 100%. Because circumstances make no difference. Because you'll have two people in the same circumstance and one will rise and one will sink. And it's not because of the circumstance. It's because of whether they took responsibility for it and did something about it or not. That's the big argument now on we all want to be socialists. Well, because as a socialist, you don't have to be responsible for yourself. It's the government that's responsible. It's their fault. They've got to provide. They got to do this. And you abdicate responsibility. And there are many people that don't want responsibility. Okay? But if you are willing to be responsible for you and everything that happens to you and everything you are, you will grow beyond your wildest dream.
In one of our previous conversations, I had called you and I was upset. And I called you and you told me, Jamie, there's 4 types of people in business, right? Brain smart, brain dumb. And that, explain that quadrant of the 4 types of people in business.
Boy, this is a $2 million lesson. I hope I get checks in the mail. So this is a very simple thing, but once you understand it, you'll get the most out of people that work for you. Imagine 4 quadrants. There are 2 axes. The horizontal axis is brain intelligence. On one end is brain dumb, on the other end is brain smart. The vertical axis is street intelligence or cunning, and on the bottom is street dumb, on the top is street smart. Okay, so let's start with the quadrant brain dumb, street dumb. There are people that you meet that are in this quadrant. Now, people are somewhere in this. They're not necessarily in one exactly, but they're pretty much in one or the other. They don't cross over too much. So let's start with brain dumb, street dumb. These people are sent on earth to teach us how to love. They love. Their minds don't work too well. You know, they're born with handicaps or, damage in their brain. And so how can you use them in your business? Well, you have to have a relatively large business to use them, but you can use them to clean tables, you can use them in the mailroom, you can use them to clean the floor, and they are so happy just to have a job. And they will show you how to love. They just love you. That's all, just because you care. Okay, so
there's a story behind that, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a few.
Yeah.
And so I hope your business is big enough that you can hire these people. Excuse me.
That's okay.
Okay, so then let's go to brain dumb, street smart. Okay, I don't have a lot of intelligent, or let's say intellect, but I understand how the world works. These are all the guys who drop out of high school and own every restaurant in town. Okay, they are financially successful. How do you use them? Well, they are very self-centered. They are motivated by me, and more me. So you make them your salesman, and you give them, you pay them on 100% commission, because they know if they do well, they get paid well. And they're the only thing that matters. And if they could do, and they're very valuable. They're your hunters. They'll go get the elephant no matter what it takes. I mean, they'll get the deal. They may even break a law to get it, but they'll get it.
Would you ever become a business partner with one of those?
No, I'll tell you where they fit. They are valuable in sales, and they are valuable up to the point of regional sales manager. If you give them any more authority than that, it's dangerous, because they will break the law and they'll take you down with them. Okay?
Because they'll break the law because
they don't care.
Because they're about me, and it's
whatever it takes. It's whatever it takes. Okay? If I have to crush you to get it, I'm going to crush you to get it. And so up to regional sales manager, they're very valuable, because they don't have enough authority to get you thrown in jail. Okay? Because if they break the law and they have authority, and you're the CEO, you're going with them.
Right.
Okay? So you use them, they're very powerful, but that's where you use them. Okay? You give them more authority than that, good luck.
I know for me that was extremely valuable, because I was in a situation and I recognized who I was surrounded by when you taught that to me, and it changed the trajectory. Once I understood what you're saying here, it changed the trajectory, and I was like, I got to make a change now.
Right, and that was very wise of you. Okay, so then let's go to brain smart, street smart. Okay, they have a good intellect, and they understand how the world works. These people are rare. They are rare. When you find them, you guard them. So where do you find them? Well, you'll find some in the service department. You'll find some, you might find them in the sales department, but they'll be a technical sales guy. They won't be a go get the job, whatever it takes. And they think, now let's back up to the street smart, brain dumb. How do they think? Oh, I think I said me. They'll spend more than they make. They always look flashy. Now let's go to the brain smart, street smart guy. How does he think? He thinks the team, us, the company. How do you motivate him? Best to motivate him with stock, because if the company does well, they do well. Okay? You give them stock or some kind of bonus based on company performance, not on their own, on the company. They like that because they're lifting the whole team up. You hear them talk in terms of we, us, they, and they are always looking for ways to improve your company, not improve their bottom or their take-home pay, the whole company. What do you do with them? Those guys, you move them around in the company. You give them different responsibilities so they learn how the whole company works. And you take good care of them. You make sure if you put them in a job that pays less than the one they were in last, I think you should cut their pay, but not to the level required. I think they should feel a little bit of empathy for the guy that's in there, cut their pay by 10% for that period of time, but then give them a bonus at the end of the year to make up for it. And those people will run your company for you. When you need to retire, they can do it. And they will watch out for you. They won't steal it from you.
So again, they care. This
They
comes
have
down
ethics.
to they care.
They have
they
ethics.
care.
Yeah, they care. They have ethics. They have a higher power. They believe that they are accountable to God, and if they hurt you, they hurt God. Okay, that's what they believe. Now, whether you believe it or not doesn't matter. That's what they believe. Okay. Now, the fourth group, brain smart, street dumb. These people are the most dangerous people in business. The most dangerous. Why? Because they sound like a brain smart, street smart guy. They have all the right words. They might even have the right degrees. There's a lot of Harvard MBAs that have this problem. And why are they dangerous? Because they will spend $2 million to put into place their idea that generates $1 million. $1 million. They don't understand how the world works. So they have all these neat ideas, they have all these great plans, but they don't realize it's going to cost more to implement them than they'll ever get back. So they're very dangerous. They can break you. So, so what you do with them? Well, they're very useful. You put them in marketing. You put them in think tanks. You put them in business development groups. You have them out there impressing people with their words and their degrees, but you don't give them a budget. You don't give them a budget at all. You may give them one helper to work with them. You don't give them a department. They're kind of on their own out there generating new stuff, new ideas, new businesses, new marketing plans, and they're very valuable that way. But if you give them a budget, you're going to lose money. That's it. That's the quadrant.
No, like I said, that made a huge difference in my life, my personal life, when I learned that lesson from you.
Well, that came from General Electric when they taught managers how to be. Jack Welch was taught by the guy who developed that quadrant theory.
Oh.
And I was taught by one of Jack Welch's contemporaries, Ray Norda, who was in GE with Jack Welch, and then Ray was my mentor. I was very blessed to have Ray as a mentor.
So consistently, what I've actually heard is that you need to care, that progress is true happiness, and you need to have fun in whatever you're doing.
Whatever.
Try to find the fun in whatever you're doing.
Find the fun and snap the job's a game. Yeah.
Okay.
Mary
Anything
Poppins
else?
Was
yeah.
right.
She was right. Yeah.
No, I think that's good.
All right. Well, thanks, Jim, for your time and all of the
you.
knowledge that you actually shared, and thank you, listeners, for listening to this podcast and those that are actually viewing it. I hope you enjoyed the podcast.